on the stream. We are now live on YouTube. Number 3 is the backup recording. Very good. This is the Techno Buffet podcast, episode number 633, recorded Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Dum dum dum.
And that the dum 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 you're hearing is, of course, the recently returned from abroad, Jerry Jones.
I had to guess on that timing because Zoom filtered out the music.
Really?
Yes.
Zoom thinks that my artistic rendering of when you're smiling is noise and has started filtering it out. I'm very disappointed.
I'm sure you'll hear it on the recording that I send you, but yep, it filtered it out, so I
Okay.
had to guess.
Well, it's lucky
How
that
close was I?
pretty close. I thought you were pausing for dramatic effect because it had been so long since we'd done a podcast together that you had forgotten your cue.
No, I just couldn't tell when.
Okay. Well, that's why I always have a backup recording. So there are actually 3 recordings going on. There's the YouTube live stream, which obviously does create a recording. There's the Zoom recording, and then there's a local recording. Better safe than sorry.
Cool.
Yeah. Also, welcome back, if I didn't imply that by the greeting earlier. I'm sure I'm not the only person who listens to this podcast that noticed your lack of presence.
There was a lack of presence. There was a lack of presence. I was not present.
I wasn't present either because there'd be nobody to talk to. You didn't say go out and find somebody to talk to in my absence. We said that we would pause. So I
Yes,
believe the last time that we got together would have been the 7th.
just like almost a month ago,
Nope, that would have been, we missed 2 weeks.
which was yes, but the last time we got together would have been 3 weeks ago,
21 days ago, yes.
so almost a month.
I don't know. Is 21 days almost a month?
I almost
Okay. Well,
3 weeks is almost 4 weeks.
I was in Florida the last time that I recorded with you, and then the next night I flew back, and I've been here
Oh no!
doing things and stuff and other things. Mostly a lot of cleaning and trying to get all of my junk out so I could move back my 3D printer, which has made a journey around the room. As I've been cleaning, it's gone from one side of the room to the other side of the room, and then back to the original side of the room, and eventually I will find a place in the room for it. I've been moving furniture, so that always takes a lot of work. Anyway, other than that, it's been fairly boring unless you want to hear the saga of me repairing broken clocks and other like minor things around the house I've been doing, and some more project management for some family projects. But I do have an upcoming project that will involve adding additional smart light switches.
Ooh,
Yes. I had some plans to do this when the gentleman was ripping some broken cabinets out of my kitchen, but I've decided that I don't trust that gentleman because he did some questionable things. And
mm-hmm.
there's another gentleman who has said that his time has opened up after some time, and he will be coming with his friend the electrician to to fix my ceiling fan and add 2 additional lights in this room, which I will be giving him the equipment for that as well as the smart switches to install. And I sprung for a new fan. I figured, you have to ask somebody to take your fan down. You might as well tell them to put a different one up.
Yes.
And let's see, fixed my smart water valve, which is essentially a battery operated Zigbee device that opens up the water flow at a spigot outside to water the lawn.
How'd that work?
Uh, I was running back and forth between my computer and outside so I could see whether or not me flicking the button actually did anything. I tried to do it on my phone, but I couldn't see the button.
Right.
Yeah, so fortunately they aren't that far away, but seemed to have worked out. And just a lot of little things. I tried to bid on a Picade on eBay.
On a what? A Picade?
Well, I do own a Picade. I own the original pre 2018 Picade, which is the old 8-inch Picade.
Right.
And I was saying one day, well, how much would it cost to get the LCD screen to upgrade it to the larger 10-inch screen that was offered back in the day? So I looked online, and that was somewhere between, depending, it was an old broken Picade on eBay that I could take the screen out of, that somebody might be willing to get rid of. And so I went on eBay and found a $30 Picade at a charity shop in San Francisco that they were offering, and they said that it was in working order. So I bid on it, and I didn't get it because it went past my price range. I believe it ended up selling for like $150. So I will be staying with the 8-inch screen, but it would have been nice to upgrade the little Picade, which is when I'm feeling nostalgic for the games of my youth, I go and play them.
No.
You don't remember some of the classic 80s arcade games?
I like Galaga.
I played that.
Spy Hunter.
Uh, for some odd reason, I used to play Tapper a lot.
Tapper. I don't know that game.
1984, the Midway Games. The goal was that you were a bartender who served drinks to people that if you didn't serve them fast enough, they grabbed you and threw you down the bar.
Nope. Don't remember that.
Okay. In the arcade, the thing that the joystick was actually a beer tap.
Mm-hmm.
So that's this little bit of irony that the person who doesn't drink grew up playing a game where you serve drinks to people. But that's a whole other interesting coincidence. But again, that brings back my childhood along with Mr. Dew's Castle. Again, I couldn't beat them as a child. I still can't beat them. Keeps me busy. Then occasionally I pivot into Nintendo and try to remember why I couldn't beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Anyway, I like the occasional fun project. Few things have happened. There's one that isn't on the list here that I noticed. All About Android decided to call it quits.
Oh no.
That's the Twitch show where they talked about Android for almost as long as we talked about Android.
Huh.
Yeah, but they had guests who were from places that people might want to hear about.
Right.
Uh,
Oh.
and they had a studio and a semi-professional operation. And we just have us.
We do just have us.
Okay, so apparently another organization has decided you can't make money in Android. But to be fair, I don't think either of us ever expected to make money off of this endeavor.
That's true.
Unless you count our generous donation every so often from Daryl.
Yep.
I miss Daryl. Daryl, if you're listening, drop us a line. Let us know you're doing well. And I did have a question for you that is it's a technical topic, but it is one I thought you might have an opinion on. Are podcast download services now inserting dynamic ads into podcasts you download?
Yes.
I just recently noticed a weird aspect of this that I hadn't. I always knew there were ads, but the specificity of the ads has been something I've been noticing lately.
Right.
So you know that in early June I was in Florida, because I mentioned it to you, and recorded from there. You know that in late April I was in Ireland for
Sure.
meetings. Well, we had conversations about this at the time, if you recall. So I'm a little backlogged on my podcast. So there's something. What I do when I'm behind is I listen to the ones that are timely and then switch to the ones that are not timely. So I have some that are current events where I want to hear them more. So when I'm behind, the ones that are sort of like, oh, we're talking about this thing that is not timely, that's just interesting, I push them to the back of the queue. So I've been trying to catch up because I'm a few episodes behind on some things for that reason. And I listened to something that would have been downloaded by my phone while I was in Ireland, and another that would have been downloaded by my phone while I was in Florida. So I was getting Irish ads and then I was getting Miami ads.
It
So,
happens.
no,
Our company does that.
yeah, I didn't realize exactly how hyper local they'd gotten, that they're doing GeoIP lookup and figuring out where my download is coming from and trying to give me ads from that local neighborhood. I had not realized they'd gotten that specific. So you
They
learned
can
something.
pretty, yeah.
No, I understand timely. I'm saying I didn't realize they were doing GeoIP now. So I learned something new. By the way, the ad still didn't throw me. Although there is a job fair that I missed in early June somewhere in Miami
Yeah.
for essential healthcare workers. Anyway, that said, a few things that happened while you were away. I know you're excited. We have the Stitcher podcast app is shutting down. So I have a Stitcher link in the sidebar because I filled out a form on their website at some point.
Right.
So it's shutting down in August after 15 years. So I guess this is a lesson that I should have gotten rid of that link by now.
Yep.
By the way, they are shutting down because they were bought out by Sirius, who's going to incorporate that.
Interesting.
Well, I've always had mixed feelings about Sirius.
You don't believe they're serious?
Oh, I do believe they're serious, but what they're not serious about is customer service.
Ah,
The reason why I have mixed feelings is every time I have a conversation with them, I wish I didn't. And I am not a subscriber, so it's usually me arranging issues for my parents.
right.
Yes, I guess I'm a glutton for punishment because I take care of my parents' telecommunications related bills. As in, I call the companies and deal with their problems because I'm more technically minded than they are. It's one of those things where I don't know about other people. Does anybody actually like talking to technical companies like cable companies, telecommunications providers, etc.?
I don't know if I'd say I like talking to them.
No, I'm just saying that you hear about people who are saying that it's one of the things they dislike most in terms of dealing with companies,
Right.
that they try to avoid it, and I do try to avoid it, but I know what to say to them, so I'm trying to be helpful and dealing with it. So some of them have been better than others. I remember when I called a certain telecommunications company to disconnect my grandmother's cell phone after she passed away, and they tried to upsell me. I think it was sort of lost on them when I explained to them that if they could figure out a way for me to call her, that I would certainly pay the rate that they wanted. But anyway, I also told them I thought upselling somebody when you tell them the reason you're canceling is the account holder has died is not really a good approach. But
Yes, but I'm certain they probably had no other option. It's probably they were required.
well, it's not like I screamed at them and yelled. I'm saying there are people who would be really mad about that. I just said I really don't think that's appropriate to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving along. If you have a phone that does not have NFC, apparently Google Wallet is adding QR code payments for your phone.
It's kind of cool.
So what will happen is the payment terminal will display a QR code you scan with the Wallet app, and then you'll be able to pay that way. So I think that's a good solution. Again, not everybody can have a chip. Not everybody wants a chip. If you got used to the current iteration of Android, apparently they're changing their brand identity again, as in they're changing the branding.
Oh no.
Yeah.
To what?
Let's see. They're making the current version, which has the Bug Droid head. It's staying, except it's more 3D looking with shadows and light reflections. And they're changing the typography. So Android has had a lowercase logo since 2008. The new logo has a capital A. So it's gone from Android with a lowercase a to Android with a capital A.
Interesting.
I think it is. There are some things where you just sort of wonder: is that the couldn't they be using their money for something else?
I don't know.
Was there something so bad about the logo that you think, oh, our product will suddenly change because we've made the A capital? Moving along, Android could let you move calls between your phone and your tablet seamlessly. So,
Wow, that's kind of cool.
so they introduced a library that might let you stream and transfer calls over to the Pixel tablet or other devices, which sounds interesting. I can
That's
cast
neat.
I can cast my phone conversation. Once again, the latest Pixel update may be causing battery drain for people. Can they release a Pixel update that doesn't cause battery drain for people? It seems like that would be something that they could do less often. Because the last one was what,
Well,
2 months ago?
probably not, because I think anything is going to be labeled as battery. Somebody's going to see battery drain, and they're going to blame it on.
I thought that it was the phone dying and ended up swapping my phone, and I'm paying for it. Well, I'm getting a phone for free after 2 years. I just hadn't planned on locking myself into another 2 year contract. Also, I'm still paying off the phone that I've traded in and owe more than the trade in value. But since I'm
Right.
getting full credit for the new phone, technically I'm making out better, which is weird.
Congratulations.
No, I'm saying the finances of that are weird. I am paying off a phone that I have given back to the company for which they have given me a credit, which is less than the value of the outstanding amount of the phone. But yet, in exchange for the trade in, they put me onto a deal that locks me into a contract with them for 24 months. However, for those 24 months, they will give me a bill credit for the percentage of the new phone that I'm paying, which means ultimately speaking, I will pay nothing for the new phone, but I'm still paying off the old phone. If this doesn't make sense, I agree with you. I don't quite get how that. I get how that works for me. I don't quite get how that works for the provider, other than keeping my business. Moving along, if you are obsessed with Matter, despite the fact that there aren't that many Matter devices, uh, TP-Link has released two inexpensive Matter-enabled light switches. A standard switch, which is $25, and a dimmer switch for $28.
Wow. Those aren't bad prices.
Well, no, but you of course need Matter support. So,
But
admittedly,
we
there.
have it. We have that, right?
Well, yes and no, because the switches do support Matter. The question is, what standard are they using? If you don't have the right radios, you could have issues. Now, I was looking. The people at Home Assistant have released the Matter server, which
Yeah.
was part of the Home Assistant OS hosting everything without running HAOS. You can now try the Matter server. I have not done this yet, but I will tell you that one of the tabs in my browser is the configuration for Docker, courtesy of that guy who does that DigiBlur channel.
Right.
Well, that's how I found out about it. So, but At the moment, there are so many good switches out there. I have not seen necessarily a motivation to add a Matter switch, but if I do, I'm glad that there are options. For me, I think my first experimentation with Matter would not be something I have to wire into the wall. Just because experimentation is usually something that's a little less critical to your house. I don't know about you on that.
Uh, no, that seems pretty important.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if I really had something where only Matter had a product, then maybe I'd experiment with something that I had to wire in. But I figure, if I want to try a Matter thing, I'd get a smart plug or something where I could experiment with it and then decide if I want to add more stuff. Anyway, moving along to Chromebooks. Apparently, Google is experimenting with Chromebook X and Chromebook Plus as their new branding. So the powerful Chromebooks will be Chromebook X.
Ooh.
Yep. So we'll see what goes on with that. But I like Chromebooks for when you want a very simple computer that just does browsing.
Yes.
And I do have a few needs of that. I still have that Lenovo Chromebook Duet that I often take around places because it's really small. It boots up fast, and sometimes I just need something to do something quick. And it runs Android apps, so that helps too.
Yep. I agree.
And according to Droid Life, they apparently have cited a study that finds Android to be much more intuitive than iOS.
What?
Yep. Apparently, in a study published by a UK site that specializes in smartphone recycling and comparisons, they've argued that Android is more intuitive. Apparently, 58% more intuitive.
That's crazy talk.
Examples of intuitiveness would be the factory reset process of a phone, software updates, how to take a screen recording, as well as how to set up voicemail. Where Android doesn't do better is limited, but includes how to take a screenshot and how to scan a QR code. And the numbers that are cited in this particular story are US, not global. So the US has apparently, according to the article, 144 million Android users, and iOS has 136 million. Although I do appreciate the comment that the writer of the story said, which is, my mother just recently switched from Android to iOS, so these numbers are greatly skewed in favor of Android now. Anyway, you can look at the numbers there, but again, I assume that is a somewhat non-scientific poll. But it is interesting that when they analyzed this, which was based on Google search data,
Yeah.
apparently people were more likely to figure out one over the other. So I don't know. Earlier today, somebody walked over to me and said, "Do you have an Android phone? We need to test something." We sent out an email, and some people can't read it. Can we forward you this email, and can you tell me whether or not the emojis in the email are showing up?
Cool.
By the way, they all did. And all the people who are having problems, guess what their phones were running?
Microsoft?
You have a phone that runs Microsoft?
I actually do.
Okay. But again, if you didn't guess, it was the Apple phones that apparently could not view that particular emoji.
Interesting.
Well, I said if they ever wanted to just... they said that I'd been very helpful. My only comment was, if all I have to do to be really helpful to you is have you send me an email and for me to tell you whether or not an emoji in it is visible, then email me anytime. That seems pretty easy to make someone happy. Moving along, the camera review site DP Review has found a buyer. Remember, I previously mentioned that they were shutting it down. because Amazon had decided they were no longer maintaining it and they were the owners. So apparently they found somebody. Gear Patrol apparently bought the site and its core editorial, tech, and business teams. And apparently, a former site editor said that if they, pretty much what I said before this happened when we first talked about it, which is couldn't somebody, they try to find somebody to buy it.
Right.
And I would think, unless the fact that they announced its closure is what caused somebody to want to buy it, and they did shop it around before that, which is theoretically possible.
Sure.
There were several people who were upset and saying that they already laid off a bunch of people, and everybody else who stayed were the only people going. So, but to be fair, it's possible a new owner might have laid off those people also. So, who knows? But again, valuable site. In a sort of off-topic thing, I just thought this was amusing. A passenger brought a movie projector and projected a film on the overhead bin of an airplane.
That's funny.
Yeah. There's a picture.
I I wonder if they were upset.
I don't know. Looked amusing. I'm not. I think it depends on the movie
Yeah.
and whether or
Probably.
not they're broadcasting the sound. Anyway, moving along. If you tried out Google Domains, it is dead. Google has sold their
No.
Google sold their domain registrar over to Squarespace.
No, I've got to move a bunch of stuff to Hover.
I've been using Namecheap. They seem to be pretty reliable for the registrar side of things. Not much to say about that, except at least they sold it to somebody as opposed to just shutting it down and making you deal with it.
Ah, true that.
So let's see what else. Here's one that I sort of like, but as always, when these things come out, I hate it for the same reason that you, Jerry, hate it. New EU regulation could mean the return of easily replaceable smartphone batteries. So, like you, I sort of dislike the idea of the government saying what type of battery and what type of plug to some degree. I like the idea that standardization is happening, but I don't particularly like the fact that the government has to do it, and the companies can't just say that this would be better for consumers. And again, I know it's not the job of a company to decide that, but if I get something because the EU is heavy-handed with their regulation, I'll just have to deal with the displeasure of that.
Yep.
But you know how many times I've said that I am disappointed about the fact that how many batteries on my various phones over the years have bulged.
Right.
And if I had a phone with a reasonably good quality phone with a removable battery, that I could have just replaced it myself.
Yep. Yep.
Even if even if it required a screwdriver, the fact that these phones are glued together and you essentially need a whole bunch of tools that you shouldn't have to deal with in order to get a battery out of the thing.
I 100% agree.
Okay. So again, don't like that it had to be a regulation, but if I can benefit from a regulation from a company that has from a country that actually the EU isn't a country, but from a government entity that I have no relationship with, other than having visited the countries involved in such government entities, then why not? If you are a WhatsApp user, apparently they are working on native multi-account support.
Huh.
Okay. I was happy when they started to say maybe you didn't need a phone number, because I still don't understand why an account I have has to be tied to a phone number. I know
That's
why
right.
there are advantages in simplicity for that, but it doesn't. It shouldn't. If it's a messaging platform, it shouldn't have to be connected to a phone. Moving along, if you have a skin rash, apparently Google Lens can now identify your skin rash, so I can
It
fire
can
my
tell you it's a tumor.
yeah, I can fire my dermatologist.
Probably not.
Well, I could try. Probably isn't a good idea. If you've been following those stories about U.S. regulation, that the FCC has been trying to get cable companies to actually disclose their fees.
Yep.
Apparently, Comcast has complained and said that it is too complicated to list all of their fees.
Wow.
Now, to be fair to them, they have, where it comes to taxes and certain things, they may vary by market. But where it comes to fees that they themselves have decided to impose, it seems interesting that they have made their fee structure so complicated that even they can't explain it to people. I would think that should be an indication of the government's argument on this, not theirs. But I know how you feel about government regulation in this regard, but I'm just saying if the government's point is you can't clearly explain your pricing and Comcast's response is no, we can't, and doing so would be too hard for us, then regardless of whether you think the government should be involved, the government has a point.
I think I would have more of a problem with it if there was more competition in the area.
Yeah, and this is sort of the thing where this is one of those opportunities to talk about it. But you have other problems, which is some people at Comcast specifically say that some of the fees that Comcast themselves impose are actually government fees. So now the government actually has a compelling involvement here because Comcast is attributing costs to them that are not actually their costs. As in, the requirement says that the providers must list all recurring monthly fees, including all charges that providers impose at their discretion, specifically charges not mandated by a government. So the fact that they are putting these charges on and making it appear as if they are mandated by a government, again, is the government, just like a company might, protecting their reputation.
Um, I'm going to say I don't disagree with it.
Okay. I look forward to seeing how they're going to make this work. But again, how many times have you heard me complain about the fact that I can't get an actual price out of a cable company of what the product costs?
Yep.
So I don't understand why I'm expected to sign up with the company, and when the bill comes, maybe I'll find out how much I owe them. Anyway, that just annoys me. We're going to go to the Beatles. So you have a lot of stuff because you went away. The final. Apparently, they have used machine learning to finish a demo for a song that was not completed.
Interesting.
So apparently, John Lennon made a demo tape for Paul McCartney before his death in 1980, and the songs that were recorded in John Lennon's apartment featured a lot of noise, and apparently they were able to use new technology to extract a clean copy of the vocals and then allow McCartney to duet with the recording. So they actually created what it would have been like had it been finished.
Interesting. That's cool.
I thought it was interesting.
I don't know what this says about the world we're coming up to.
It's going to be interesting, but that may be good and bad.
I just being a creator is not going to be it's not going to have the same meaning as it used to.
I am trying to protect my rights, as are apparently the writers who are currently striking and preventing me from watching television.
Yeah, isn't that annoying?
I feel for them. I wish they were working, though, but I understand why they're not. But the last time we had an extended writer strike, at least 3 shows I liked got on the chopping block, which is a shame. But we'll see. I'm stocking up on my classic TV collection. I always do that because I like to be prepared for the next streaming apocalypse where they purge all of the shows I like off of a streaming platform.
Isn't that so annoying?
Well, they're starting to do that again. I know there was a lot of controversy in the last week because they decided to this is Paramount, decided to cancel Star Trek Prodigy, which was their family-friendly Star Trek program.
Which I on the airplane, I watched the first 3 episodes of it and really liked it.
Well, here's the thing. The weird thing about it is I can understand if they decided not to continue the show, but they've actually produced pretty much all of season 2. So it's sort of they are going to discontinue something that they've already made and already paid for, and CBS Studios is going to have to shop it around to another network when Paramount is supposed to be the home of Star Trek. Wouldn't the cost-cutting measure be we've already produced season 2, let's air it, and then after that let's get rid of the thing, and we're not going to make a season 3? Anyway, if you are upset about that, there is essentially a quote-unquote campaign out there to have people buy the physical media of the show to show their support for it and show that sales would be warranted should they continue the show. However, apparently that has resulted in it being sold out at most major retailers.
Hmm.
I follow a lot more than just technology.
Clearly.
Anyway, moving along, if you are a user of Google Home, routines can now be triggered from the web, and they redesigned their camera interface. So I am
Oh,
not
neat.
a user of Google Home routines. I do use it to connect certain things together so I can control them, but I, as you know, prefer a different platform. If you're a Wear OS user, apparently the Pocket Cast version for Wear OS is now in beta. So soon you'll be able to play your Pocket Cast podcasts on your Wear OS device. Good.
Yep.
Uh, Android Auto got its first garage door opener app.
No,
Yep.
I'm jealous.
I'm not. The Home Assistant app for Android Auto can actually open my garage door.
Hmm.
Well, while it wasn't necessarily worth it to get the HomeKit compatible Chamberlain thing,
Right.
since Home Assistant can tap into HomeKit and become a HomeKit device, even if Chamberlain shuts everything down, I can still directly locally connect over HomeKit to the garage door opener and open and close the garages. So I figured even I would grab one of those before they I would grab one of those after they discontinued it, but before they stopped selling them. So my garage doors are working pretty reliably now, but local control, I guess. Apparently, Google is surprised at how people have been using the Recorder app that they released.
This sounds like an interesting story.
Apparently, most Recorder sessions are at least 3 minutes long or less, and people are using it as part of their brainstorming process, rap lyrics, or production-ready samples for actors. But they thought it would be used more often for longer sessions. I know I once used it to record a talk, and I wish that was when they were backing the transcripts of that up to your Google account, because I ended up losing the transcript because I forgot to export it. Anyway, that's a whole other story. The Pixel feature drop from June, the one that apparently caused battery drain, apparently included cinematic wallpapers, which were previously advised.
Gee, I wonder if that could have anything to do with it.
I didn't turn it on.
Did you get battery drain?
No.
Huh. I mean, I'm just saying.
I like the idea of cinematic wallpaper, but I don't really feel I need it.
I agree, but if you turn on cinematic paper and you've got uh, lower your battery, oh, and your battery drains, I wonder if the two are related.
Could be.
Man,
By the way, if you are not a Home Assistant user, like both Jerry and I, you can try Google Home's new script editor to create custom animations. If you look at it, it looks very similar to a YAML editor, because it is a YAML editor. So they are using a YAML script. So if you are our Home Assistant user, you'll feel right at home. The Verge had an interesting, very brief story that I just thought was amusing, which is apparently Bing was somewhat negative about Chrome.
No.
So if you type Chrome into the Microsoft Edge search bar and the Bing chatbot comes up, it says it is searching for Bing features. And it's not the chat bot at work. Apparently, the people at Microsoft have decided if you search for an alternative browser, they are now essentially plugging their own.
That's funny. Not surprising.
Well, I can understand why it wouldn't necessarily promote a competing product, but it is one thing for when you ask about the competing product for it to completely ignore you. Wear OS 4 could let you swap wearables between phones without a reset, which make me happy because every time I have to switch it, that happens. Chrome is adding a full Google Password Manager UI that will have a desktop shortcut. If you are a Minecraft user, apparently you can now play Minecraft on your Chromebook.
And, well, cool.
Android 14 will now make it extra clear that your phone is charging. Apparently they've tried to design that because it is actually right now for me hard to actually notice the very subtle charging icon because it is a little small. Google unbanned the downloader app, but the developer is still a bit mad about how easy it was to take down his app and how long it took to get it back.
DMCA's like that.
Pretty much just to recoup, when we left off, we were starting the conversation about the loss of Reddit apps. In 2 days, they'll pretty much all be gone because there has not been any sort of attempt to find an equitable solution on all sides. And there are a bunch of Reddits that have apparently been complaining about it. And from what I understand, some of them in protest are only showing pictures of John Oliver for reasons I don't quite understand. I'm saying that fast because I don't know how I could explain that. And this is more of a visual thing. If you go to the show notes, I've put in this other Droid Life article that I found interesting, which is Google phone cameras have come a long way. And what they did was put together a little gallery, starting with the Nexus 1, of pictures. So you can see how the cameras have evolved over the last 13 years.
Cool.
So honestly, I thought it was nice to see. It doesn't really follow on a audio only program, but I figured people can click the link.
They have gotten better.
Yeah, so that's what, 3 weeks worth of news in 1 hour?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yep.
So we will be back to a weekly cadence unless something else happens next week. Do you want to continue with Wednesday? It's been working for me.
If Wednesday works for you, Wednesday works for me.
Yeah, next Wednesday, let me see. In a supreme bit of irony, because I just talked about firing him, I'm going to see my dermatologist next Wednesday, but I should be back in time unless he's running late. So if he's running, how about we put it back 1 hour to 9 o'clock, if that's fine with you for next week. And then we'll keep it at 8 normally. Would that work for you?
Say that again?
Next week, how about I put it back an hour so I don't have to worry about running home from seeing my doctor. And then after that, we'll go to 8. Because when nothing else is going on, 8 seems to work for both of us.
I agree.
Okay.
Right.
For those of you who are in the United States, next Tuesday is, of course, Independence Day, so happy Independence Day. For anybody who is in a part of the United States that is getting poor air quality alerts again, may your lungs stay safe.
Yes.
And I have a new air quality sensor to install.
Ooh.
Well, those things finally came in handy. They were reporting. No, I'm saying they were reporting clean air for so long, and now I finally had dirty air to report on. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but at least I justified purchasing them in the first place. So I decided to upgrade one of them. Anyway, on that somewhat pleasant note, let us adjourn until next time.
Till next time. Bye, folks.
Bye, everybody.
Recording stopped.